Deadpool is, without a doubt, Marvel's definition of chaos. I mean, if you ever wanted to see what happens when you give a man the ability to break all the rules of reality, plus add in a dash of insanity, you get Deadpool. This guy doesn't just break the fourth wall, he takes a sledgehammer to it. You know that thing in every superhero movie where they look into the camera like they're in some serious action flick? Yeah, Deadpool does that. But instead of delivering a monologue, he's more likely to ask if anyone else is craving tacos. And let's not sugarcoat it. Deadpool's chaos isn't an accident. It's his entire identity. He's like a tornado in a red suit, unpredictable, destructive, but somehow you can't help but watch it all unfold with a grin on your face. You never know what's going to happen next, and neither does Deadpool. He's as surprised by his next move as we are. Deadpool is what happens when you take away consequences from a character. Like, think about it. Why does Deadpool act so wildly? Because he can. He doesn't suffer from the same constraints as everyone else in the Marvel Universe. He can be blown to bits, and 2 scenes later, he's back to cracking jokes like nothing happened. There's no permanent damage, no final reckoning for his actions. In Deadpool's world, chaos reigns supreme because there's no such thing as lasting consequences for him.
Holy shit.
Now, contrast that with Wolverine, Logan, the epitome of control. Wolverine's entire life is about keeping that inner storm at bay. You see it in every fight, every grunt, every quiet moment where he's staring off into the distance, probably wondering if it's all worth it. He's got claws that could tear through anything, but what makes him stand out is that he doesn't always use them. That's the beauty of Wolverine. He has to choose when to let loose and when to hold back. Before we continue with the video and my further explanation about Marvel's chaos, I want to ask for your help. I am trying to reach 5,000 subs by the end of the year, so I do really appreciate it if you would subscribe and help me out. Let's continue. Let's dig into their backgrounds because the way these 2 heroes were shaped by their experiences plays a huge role in why one is chaos and the other control. Deadpool's past? A disaster. Wade Wilson was a mercenary with a heart of gold. A very tarnished heart, but still. He got roped into the Weapon X program and was subjected to experiments that would make even the toughest guys break down. His body was wrecked, but his healing factor kicked in, saving his life, even if it left him scarred and, let's be honest, a little nuts. It's like giving a kid a superpower but forgetting to add the manual. Now he's running wild, immune to the consequences of his actions. So what do you get when you take someone like Wade Wilson, already a bit morally flexible, and give him the ability to recover from anything? You get chaos. He doesn't have to weigh his choices because, to him, there are no lasting repercussions. Blow something up? Hey, no biggie. Get stabbed in the head? No problem. What's the worst that can happen? That's Deadpool's mindset in a nutshell. Wolverine's past, though? Way more tragic. Logan has lived through more wars, betrayals, and personal losses than any man should. He's got a healing factor like Deadpool, sure, but for Logan, the stakes are different. Every wound heals, but every scar remains, emotionally, anyway. Wolverine can regenerate from physical damage, but the emotional toll doesn't go away, and that's why his control is so impressive. Wolverine has lived for over a century. He's seen people he loves die, some because of his own actions. He's been manipulated, experimented on, and betrayed. But through it all, Logan remains controlled. He's not ruled by his impulses like Deadpool. He's not bouncing off the walls looking for the next thrill. Logan's goal has always been survival, both of himself and those he cares about. Deadpool is chaotic because he feels invincible. Wolverine is controlled because he knows he isn't. Now, we can't talk about these 2 without diving into their relationships and how those dynamics bring out even more of their core traits. Take Deadpool's relationship with Cable, for example. Cable is this ultra-serious, time-traveling soldier with a mission, and Deadpool is, well, Deadpool. It's like pairing a guy who's trying to prevent the apocalypse with a guy who's more concerned with what's for lunch. The chaos and order dynamic is front and center. Cable is always trying to rein Deadpool in, while Deadpool is constantly undermining Cable's seriousness with jokes and randomness. Cable represents what Wolverine stands for in a way. Discipline, control, a sense of responsibility. But where Cable sees Deadpool as a nuisance, Wolverine's relationship with Deadpool is more complicated. Even though Wolverine probably can't stand being around him for more than 10 minutes. You know that feeling when you love your dog, but he just won't stop barking at the delivery guy? Yeah, that's Wolverine's vibe around Deadpool. And speaking of Wolverine, let's look at some of his most important relationships. Jean Grey. Wolverine's love for Jean is one of the most consistent and tragic parts of his character. It's unrequited, it's painful, and yet Wolverine doesn't act on it impulsively. He loves her, but he keeps that part of himself controlled, knowing full well that pursuing it could lead to disastrous consequences. That's control. Contrast that with Deadpool's love life, especially with someone like Vanessa. Deadpool falls for Vanessa hard and fast. It's a whirlwind romance that mirrors the chaos in his life. But even when Deadpool goes through the most traumatic experiences, like losing Vanessa or being separated from her, he still treats life like a joke. It's chaos even in his relationships. His way of coping is through humor and randomness, never letting himself dwell too long on the pain. For Deadpool, it's honestly a little hard to pin down. Some days, it's about money. Other days, it's about a personal vendetta. And other times, he's just bored. His motivations are as chaotic as his personality. He doesn't have a strong moral compass guiding his every move, but that's part of what makes him so fascinating. Deadpool can switch from being a hero to an anti-hero to a complete villain, depending on his mood. He's not bound by any set of rules, moral, physical, or otherwise. Wolverine, though, is driven by something deeper. He's haunted by his past and motivated by his desire for redemption. Everything Wolverine does is about making up for the violence he's been a part of. His mission is personal, and it's tied directly to his sense of control. If Deadpool's chaos is about breaking free from responsibility, Wolverine's control is about carrying the weight of it. Wolverine is constantly trying to atone for the monster he feels he's become. That's why, even when he's in the thick of battle, you can see him holding back, trying to prevent himself from going too far. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how these two are portrayed in different media. In the comics, Deadpool is pretty much always a chaotic force of nature. He's self-aware, constantly breaking the fourth wall, and full of irreverent humor. But when Deadpool made his cinematic debut in X-Men Origins, they took away his ability to speak, his most dangerous weapon. Ryan Reynolds gave us the Deadpool we all wanted in his standalone movies. This version of Deadpool was chaotic in all the right ways. Funny, violent, unpredictable, and totally aware that he was in a movie. Wolverine, on the other hand, has been portrayed as the ultimate anti-hero in both the comics and film. Hugh Jackman's portrayal of Wolverine is iconic. Jackman captures that inner turmoil, the control simmering just beneath the surface. Even in the most brutal fights, there's a sense that Wolverine is holding back, always trying to keep that beast inside him from getting out. The movie Logan takes this control versus chaos dynamic to a whole new level. In that film, we see an aging Wolverine who's struggling even harder to maintain his control. His body's breaking down, and with it, his ability to keep the chaos at bay. Yet, despite all that, he still manages to stay in control long enough to protect Laura, his daughter. And that's the heart of Wolverine's character. He endures, he controls, even when everything else is falling apart. In the end, these two characters represent two sides of the same coin. Deadpool shows us the joy of chaos, of embracing the absurdity of life, while Wolverine reminds us of the strength that comes from control, from knowing when to fight and when to hold back. So, what do you think? Is Deadpool the most chaotic superhero out there? Or does Wolverine also have his moments? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.